How Far Will the Yuan Fall? By www.forexconspiracyreport.com. Due to persistent slowing of the Chinese economy, the People's Bank of China is cutting the yuan reference rate on a daily basis. Capital outflows are driving the yuan down, and with a repeatedly lower reference rate, the yuan exchange rate is falling. How far will the yuan fall? Bloomberg Business writes about the subject as the yuan posts its longest losing run in months. China's yuan weakened for an eighth day, the longest run of losses since June, on increased capital outflows and speculation that the central bank is guiding the currency lower to help an economy growing at the slowest pace in 25 years. The People's Bank of China cut the yuan's reference rate for the seventh day in a row after a barometer of capital flows posted the second biggest drop on record. This followed the authorities' move on Friday to play down the currency's recent losses by saying its performance shouldn't be measured against the dollar alone. While the PBOC was seen propping up its exchange rate in the past few months, it has allowed declines on all but one day since winning International Monetary Fund reserve status on November 30th. The China Foreign Exchange Trade System, which is run by the PBOC to facilitate interbank trading, published a new yuan index composed of 13 currencies, a development seen as setting the stage for a further decline against the dollar. The Chinese government is using smoke and mirrors in an attempt to make the situation look less dire. The new basket of currencies against which the yuan will be compared excludes the US dollar, so the news will not include the fact that the yuan is falling persistently against the primary forex currency. Another instance of trickery was the announcement by regional officials that they had lied about economic growth rates in the past. It turns out that instead of a region growing at 9%, it was really growing at 3%. Thus, the fact that today the region is growing at 2% really is not such a bad thing. How far will the yuan fall? Macro Business asks the exact question that we are asking. How far will the yuan fall? Is the yuan going to fall 50%? When thinking about the non-linear effects of the financial markets, it isn't impossible. One Chinese bank has called for as many as 3 15% one-off devaluations. Fundamentals and sentiment have favored the bears for several years, and now it's time when reflexivity will really start kicking in. The shift from bullish to bearish on the yuan is a huge sentiment move, but most economists are still predicting small moves. This is very unlikely given the history of financial markets. Here we have a prediction that the yuan can fall as much as 45 to 50%. Pace of U.S. interest rate increases. To an extent, how far the yuan falls is due to a strengthening dollar instead of a weakening yuan. However, it appears that the market has already priced in the first Fed rate increase. Reuters speculates that there will be a limit to U.S. rate increase hikes. The dollar edged lower against major currencies on Monday on worries that heightened market volatility caused by an oil price slump and turmoil in credit markets could limit the number of U.S. interest rate hikes and dampen the greenback's allure. The dollar index has been down 2.5% so far this month, much of it due to profit-taking as investors have fully priced in the first U.S. interest rate increase in 9 years. The Federal Reserve is expected to deliver that policy move on Wednesday, with investors now focused on the pace of tightening after that. How far will the yuan fall? China needs to clean up its credit mess and adjust its economy away from being solely export-driven. It needs to let its currency fall as the market dictates. The issue with the yuan is the Chinese economy and not the US dollar. For more insights and useful information about Forex markets and trading, visit www.forexconspiracyreport.com.